Hey everyone, my name is Kruger, and I'm a contributor at Aladdin DAO. We recently released a beta version of a new product to help users in the curve and convex finance ecosystems. This one's called Clever, and it's for CVX maxis. It does two things. First, it automates the whole process of earning bribes and yields with CVX, and second, it allows users to claim their future yields today. Users can take those yields and redeposit them into Clever to increase their automatic bribe and reward earning, or they could instead swap them into other tokens and use them for whatever they like. Today, I'm going to do a quick review of how users can earn bribes directly with their CVX using Votium, and then show the equivalent process with Clever. We'll then look at how to claim your future yields with Clever and talk about what you can do with them. It's worth taking a minute to talk about the baseline process that CVX holders use now to earn yield on their CVX. The important things we need to understand are first, that holders of the locked CVX token can vote on curve gauge weights every 2 weeks, and second, that some protocols will reward those CVX holders who vote on their gauges. These rewards are called bribes. Assuming you already have some CVX, the process to earn bribes goes like this. Begin by visiting the Convex Finance website and navigating to the Lock CVX tab. Here you can see that once locked, CVX earns a modest yield of a couple percent, plus it gives you voting weight for proposal and gauge weight voting. That's where the money is. So we must lock our CVX for 16 weeks in order to participate. So your CVX has to be locked before the voting period begins in order to participate in the vote. That means depending on when you lock, you may have to wait a little while before you can participate in your first vote. At the time of this recording, there's an ongoing vote happening, so we can take a peek at what the process looks like. Let's pretend that we vote locked some CVX. We would see our current vote weight would be increased above 0 here. We have two places we would need to check out. The first is the snapshot voting page, and the second is Votium, the bribe platform. Let's check out the snapshot vote first. Here you can see that holders of locked CVX have a huge list of potential gauges that they can vote on with their voting weight. You could vote for a single gauge or spread your weight across many, and there are a ton of options. So how do you choose? Well, that's where Votium comes in. Votium is the bribing platform for Convex. Here on the Votium website, you can see that there are many active incentives. Each one of these incentives corresponds to a gauge listed on the snapshot vote we just saw, and represents a pool of rewards that will be divided between users who vote for the specified gauge. So to do the process manually, we would need to check out all these voting incentives and decide how to divide our voting weight to be able to claim the most of these incentives. Once we'd done that, we would head back to the snapshot and cast our votes. Later on, when the voting period has ended, we come back to Votium and click Claim Rewards. Any rewards that we'd be eligible for based on our voting would be listed here. Now, that's a lot. Most users don't want to go through the hassle of figuring out the optimal way to vote. Instead, they take advantage of delegation offered by Votium. CVX holders can delegate their voting power to Votium, and Votium will vote on their behalf in a way to earn the most rewards. This saves users the hassle of actually voting, and users can come and claim their rewards after each voting period. Let's review. To earn bribes with CVX, at the minimum, we need to vote lock our CVX on Convex, and then delegate our voting power to Votium. Then we have to return to Votium after each voting period to claim all of our rewards. Some of those rewards are going to be in tokens like CVX, which we wish to keep, but others will be likely in native tokens which we may want to sell. So each of those we need to swap. Since all this happens on mainnet, the process of claiming and swapping rewards can be very expensive, and for smaller harvests it may not be worthwhile. Another thing to consider is the vote locking period. Since convex vote locks are 16 weeks long, every 16 weeks CVX holders have to remember to come back and pay gas to re-lock their CVX in order to continue participating. This brings us back to Clever. Clever automates the whole process we just discussed completely. From vote locking the CVX to delegating or voting for maximum returns, swapping bribes, and finally even relocking every 16 weeks, a user can lock their CVX with Clever and forget about it for a while it earns automatically. But Clever goes further and lets users claim their future yields today. It works like this. Immediately after you lock your CVX with Clever, you can claim future yields up to half the amount you just deposited. You claim these yields in our synthetic CVX token called Clev CVX. As your deposited CVX earns bribes and rewards, you'll see that your Clev CVX debt is being reduced. As your debt is reduced, you can choose to claim more back up to the maximum, or just wait for the rest of your previously claimed yields to finish earning. It's important to note that even if you don't have any outstanding debt, you still earn yields as Clev CVX, which you can claim without incurring any debt. The claimed or earned Clev CVX can be swapped back into real CVX, which users can use as they see fit. Many users will choose to redeposit that CVX and earn yields and bribes on it as well. By doing this, and maybe even more than once, users can multiply their bribe and reward earnings. Alternatively, of course, users can swap their loaned Clev CVX into another token and use it for other purposes. At the time of recording, Clever has been launched in a limited beta form. When we're fully operational, there will be two different ways to swap Clev CVX to CVX. One is our furnace function, where users can request CVX in exchange for burning their Clev CVX, and the other is a curve pool, where users can immediately swap Clev CVX for CVX at whatever rate is currently available. During the beta, there is no curve pool, so all users will need to use the furnace, and this will introduce delays in swapping Clev CVX into CVX during the beta period. The fees are greatly reduced in order to account for this. Now let's take a look at the interface and see how we would actually use Clever. As we know, we need to begin by locking our CVX. This is done here on the left. Locking requires an approval as well as a deposit transaction. As soon as the lock transaction is successful, we'll immediately see claimable future yield indicated here on the right side in the amount of half of what we locked. Let's take a look at the other numbers here. Beneath the claimable future yield is the outstanding debt. This number is the number of Clev CVX that we have claimed but have not yet actually earned by our deposited CVX. This number goes up when you claim future yields, and it goes down each time yields are harvested. Below that is the accrued yield field. For users that don't have any outstanding debt, they will accrue Clev CVX, which they can claim without incurring a debt. So imagine if you borrow some Clev CVX and then forget about it for a long while, and your debt is paid off in the meantime. Your CVX will continue earning for you even though you don't have any outstanding debt. Something to note is that when you claim your future yields, your deposited CVX must of course stay locked while those future yields are earned. At the minimum, you have to leave 2 CVX locked for every 1 Clev CVX worth of outstanding debt. I will note, though, that this lock isn't absolute. It is possible to manually repay your debt at any time with either Clev CVX or CVX, but that will incur a fee. In any case, it's nice to know that you can clear your debt and unlock your principal CVX in an emergency if you have to. One last thing to note on the subject of locking CVX is that since your CVX is immediately vote locked with Convex after you lock it with Clever, when you want to withdraw it, you actually have to make a request, and you won't be able to claim that until your locking period with Convex is up. CVX that has had an unlock requested will not continue to earn bribes and rewards, so make sure you make your unlock requests as close to the moment when your CVX comes unlocked at Convex as possible. To see details about when your underlying CVX is coming unlocked, head over here to the unlock link and click this unlock button here. It's not available for me right now because I don't have a connected wallet with locked CVX, but this is where you'll find all those details. Once you've made an unlock request, it'll be listed here under the pending unlocks. So let's imagine we've claimed some Clev CVX. Since we're in the beta period, our only option to swap that CVX is via the furnace. So let's head over to that tab. The great thing about the furnace is that you always get 1 CVX for 1 Clev CVX, with 0 slippage and 0 fees other than just gas. But especially during the beta period, there are going to be delays in exchanging Clev CVX for CVX. To claim from the furnace, users make a request by depositing Clev CVX. Each time the real CVX enters the furnace, which happens when yields are harvested, all users with outstanding claims will receive a proportional share of the CVX, while an equivalent amount of their deposited Clev CVX is burned. Users can withdraw their unburned Clev CVX from the furnace anytime, and when we go into full operation with the curve pool, many users I expect will choose to do that in order to swap to their CVX more quickly. And that's it. Clever is quite easy to use, but a little tricky to understand, so I recommend going back and rewatching any parts of this video that weren't really clear to you. We also have written an article for the launch that details how the system works and talks about some of the amazing features of these future yield loans and what makes them so attractive. Check that stuff out and pop by our Discord to ask any questions you have.